Yeah, and I just feel like that's really what's gotten me bogged down. You know, that's really what's bothering me the most.
Have you tried exercising?
What's up, y'all? Today we're going to be talking about one of the most underrated reasons why you should be exercising, and that's mental health.
We're going to tell you exactly how exercise improves your mental health, which exercises are the best, and stick around to the end because as always, we're going to give you the practical tips on how you can actually implement all of this.
As always, I'm Victor, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Julian. Some say he's my brother. The jury's still out. And we're here in the heart of Miami Lakes. Be fit, our favorite place to be. In front of La Vaguita.
In front of Tony's.
Tony's Pizza.
Get yourself a pizza, then come train after.
Get a pizza at 4 p.m. They open at 4. I know. So mental health. Let's talk about it.
I think it's safe to say that most people start exercising or looking to be fit for physical reasons, either to lose weight or gain muscle or get strong or something like that, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I don't think a lot of people go into it with any other aspect in mind other than their body, their physical body.
Yeah, that would make sense. And what we've found from 11 years of doing this, of having a fitness studio and doing a lot of consultations, is that while that might be a good motivator to get you started, what I think keeps people exercising is the mental health benefits. Is once they feel how good they feel and how good they think and how they it helps with stress relief and things like that, it's a game changer. It's something that now you don't want to do without.
100%. I feel like that's the most addictive, quote unquote, part is how good you feel after that day or after a few weeks or months of doing it.
Or after being a fit person who exercises routinely.
Yeah. Once we get somebody in here for a few weeks or months, that's the first thing. They don't start saying like, I feel weak. I feel it's how good I feel like leaving here. And that's all a mental game.
Yeah. So I would agree that it is a super underrated, but maybe if not more important, just as important as working on your physical health, like being conscious of the fact that this is a mental health practice.
They're definitely neck and neck in my opinion, I would say.
So it's estimated that around 1 billion people suffer from some sort of mental health disorder, whether it's anxiety, depression.
That's a lot of people.
That's a big number, huh?
Jesus Christ.
I think it has something to do with, I can't sit here and tell you how prevalent mental health was like back in the day, but I think that modern life definitely contributes to it.
Absolutely, and I think the social media and all that stuff, the social media,
smartphones,
like an old man.
Right,
the smartphone and the social medias, I don't think they do anything positive for, I'm just throwing a number out here, 90% of people I think use it as a comparison tool rather than what some people use it like as a curated learning tool or just what was originally intended for, to keep up with your friends, not to compare yourself to everybody else's life. I feel like that's really doing more harm than good for people.
And you can see it in like the younger generations, Gen Z, and whatever the generation that comes after that they reportedly are a lot more anxious than previous generations. And it's safe to say that the smartphones, the screen time, the lack of going outside, being in the sun, playing with their friends, like the older generations, that's definitely contributed to that.
Yeah, like actual real life social interaction, not texting somebody or interacting with their Instagram post. I feel like that's a huge factor contributing to these mental health problems.
Yeah, because we've talked about it before on this podcast where, you know, we evolved as humans to live a certain way, and our modern lives, if you look at it, it's almost like if you were to choose like the complete opposite of how we evolved, like let's be indoors all the time instead of outdoors. Let's be a little bit more isolated instead of like in our tribe.
Yeah.
It's just not conducive to good mental health. So the good news is, and this is what we're going to get into, is that there is a shift in that. There's a lot more people that now are aware that there is a problem and are actively taking part in making that better.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about some ways that people can help if you are struggling with this or if you know somebody's struggling. And it's easier said than done, I would say. A lot of people are like, oh, just go exercise. But sadly, when you're feeling this way, the only thing you want to do is something that's counterproductive to that, which is stay inside and be more disconnected and be less active.
When it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, what you should do is just get up and go for a run, get up and go work out. But sadly, that's the last thing people want to do at that point.
Yeah, and of course, we should start by saying that there's levels to it, right? Like we're not here to, diagnose clinical depression or anything like that. But I do want to get into a preventative way, right? So don't just think about this like you would like regular healthcare, which is you're sick, I give you something, like I'm taking care of it after the fact. Oh, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. Now I should work out.
Workout regimen.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that works too, but there's a lot you can do proactively to prevent that in the first place, or just to deal with the stresses of everyday life before you get into that hole. Because once you get into that hole, like you said, yeah, now I don't even want to get out of bed, let alone go lift weights.
Yeah, calling it a hole is a good way to think about it, because then you got to claw your way out of the hole just to get to even ground, which is where we'd want to be, starting the regimen.
Exactly. So first we should discuss like the stigma with mental health, right? What comes to mind for me is like the whole Nicole Biles. Who the fuck is Nicole Biles?
Simone's sister.
So first, I think it's important to mention the stigma that was historically associated with mental health, right? Like back in the day, to admit that you had some sort of mental health issue was seen as some sort of weakness, or like you had a problem.
Or you were like, they called you crazy, they put you in a loony bin.
Yeah, for something as simple as anxiety.
Yeah.
But now that's definitely a lot more accepted. It's part of the conversation. There's a lot less shame. Like I said, Gen Z is way more aware of like that mental health is a thing that a lot of us struggle with, if not all of us, at some point. And it's something that we need to be talking about. So it's out in the conversation now.
Yeah.
Once you start working with people, you realize that like your psychology and your self-talk and your mind, it really is the catalyst for everything else. Like how you think is how you're going to behave, how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, so many things. So as a trainer, you have to check in and you have to see what's going on with that person's mind. And I'm sure with all the different variety of clients that we have, they're all struggling with something slightly different, and then your approach might change. And then even on a given day, it might be different. Like maybe they had some stressful thing going on at work the night before, they didn't sleep. You have to check in with all those things. This is a lot more than just a physical thing.
Definitely. And we can't expect them to perform at 100%, which is, I think, something that's being lost with like the meathead community, which is like, oh, give it 100% every day. It's like, no, dude, if you had like an anxious night, you slept 4 hours, you still showed up to the gym, kudos. I'm not going to make you push your PR, like
you had diarrhea for a week.
You had diarrhea for a week and you had to take Imodium, and then that Imodium turned into constipation. Whatever it may be, you don't want to like push somebody to do that when they're clearly, not all there at the moment. What happened? Shout out to just kidding.
Shout out. I'm going to tell away. We talked about
Hey, you got the first ever second shout out.
What's interesting too is I'm always keeping up with trends and what's popular, and a lot of what's popular now is a preventative thing where people are seeking out physical activity and exercise as a form of mental health or mental wellness, or just to either deal with the anxiety that they're already dealing with, or preventing anything in the future, or making themselves more resilient. And we are going to get into exactly like the science of why exercise helps you with that. But I think that's refreshing. I think that's cool that people are now, they're not just looking for a gym where I can get big and strong. They're looking for different facilities that'll help with that.
A gym that makes me feel good overall. I feel good with the people that are there. The people that are make me feel welcome. They make me feel, safe, that I could tell them that I'm going through these things. I leave there feeling better, not feeling judged, not feeling like, oh, I didn't give it my best today, because you don't want to feel that. You go to the gym, is already hard enough. You want to feel
there could be
supported.
a toxic culture in some gyms, or even just some whatever places.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely don't want to promote that. I feel like fitness should be something that's inclusive. If you want to do it more competitively, that's fine. That's on you. There's these other places you can go to, but I feel like that's not why most people pursue like a community-oriented gym.
Would you say that because the research shows that it's Gen Z that's more again, conscious about, I'm doing this for my mental health. Would you say that with the older population that they're kind of getting it too?
I think they're getting it.
I was just thinking about the heavies.
We had a consultation yesterday with a lady that came in, and she wasn't Gen Z. She must have been
probably in her 40s.
Yeah, maybe. And she was telling me she had problems with anxiety, and the anxiety would wake her up at 3, 4 a.m. And that's why she hadn't worked out, because waking up that early, working, she didn't have the energy to work out. So I told her, come in. She's going to come in today. She's going to try a class. Step by step, we're going to take it. And I guaranteed her that this was going to help her with her anxiety, which is going to help her sleep, which is going to help her recover, which is overall going to make her entire life better, really.
And later in this episode, I want to talk about some testimonials, because there's so many stories that we've had over the years of people that have done just that, and it's helped them tremendously.
That's why I say it so definitively. I don't usually like to talk in absolutes, but it's something that we've seen literally like 95% of people, like 100% of people almost, you feel better after a gym session. Like it's just true, no matter how much you hate it coming in.
And it's therapeutic.
It's definitely therapeutic.
So now we're going to get into the science of mental health and why exercise can help you.
I'm a man of science.
Good. We've all heard about how exercise releases endorphins, right? Like that's like the old cliche, and it does. There's a lot of like biochemical the processes that happen when you're working out that we're not going to get into too many, but there is like a physiological, like you move your body is going to kind of reward you by it feeling good. Now, and a lot of people are probably thinking like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? The exercise sucks. Like it's hard. Yeah. But if you've ever felt like runner's high, if you've ever struggled to get into working out and then you're like 20 minutes in, you're like, all right, I feel like a little bit more pumped up, I feel better. And then I know 100% of you, as soon as you're done, you feel great.
Yep. It's so funny. I get texts from people. It happens a lot with one specific client, and she knows who she is. I put her through hell every single time. I kick her ass, and then she's during the class, I hate you, this and that, calls me names. And then at the end, I always get a text, today's class was awesome. I loved it so much. I'm like, are you all right?
Shout out to whoever that is. Nat?
Yeah, you got it.
Shout out, Nat. That's great. So another thing is that exercise helps with neuroplasticity, which is basically just a fancy way of saying the brain's ability to grow and adapt and basically learn things. So there's a direct correlation between physical activity and like cognitive health, which is great to know.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So why are most meatheads considered dumb?
I think that's a misconception.
Okay, I think that's like a cartoon trope from back in the day.
For sure, yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot of really smart like meatheads. There's a lot of PhDs.
I think that culture is growing in that sense. Like you see a lot more of the intelligent meathead rather than the bulky like.
I mean, look at all the bodybuilders from the '80s, like Arnold. Like all those guys were super successful outside of bodybuilding.
Yeah, they had good
Arnold's is super smart. Yeah, true. The other thing that is not so obvious, but is probably one of the most important things, is that exercise helps you sleep better, and sleep is crucial for not only mental health and mood, but everything. Recovery, cognitive function, memory, you name it. Like sleep is probably the number one thing you should be doing. And if you exercise, typically you tend to sleep better. It regulates your sleep patterns. You're a little bit more tired at night, so it can help you fall into a deeper sleep.
Yeah, exercise is a funny thing because it gives you more energy, but then it also makes you more tired when you need to be. I feel like everything is at the appropriate times. So if you work out in the morning, you'll feel like you have more energy during the day, and you're probably more likely to go to bed at a reasonable time.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. And on that note, there's actually a lot of research to back this up now. Exercise is one of the best things you could do to prevent the natural decay or deterioration of your brain. So preventing things like, not preventing, I can't say preventing,
slowing down.
Yeah, slowing down your chances of having dementia or even Alzheimer's. Super, super interesting stuff.
Cool. It's good to know. Especially if it runs in your family, if you're genetically predispositioned to have that. I think that's a very important thing to be aware of and to take action towards.
And just a little segue there. They used to think that doing crossword puzzles and things like that was better for your brain or helps exercise your brain. Now we know that actual exercise is much better than all of that stuff.
I always heard walking backwards and things that were kind of weird for your body, like brushing your teeth with your left hand.
That has a lot to do with the neuroplasticity. You're used to the pattern of doing everything with the right hand, doing everything a certain way, and if you switch it up, you don't have to do weird shit like walk backwards, but you can easily just do something new. Take a capoeira class or do a dance thing,
or try new exercise.
New. Exactly.
That's why I like to try some pretty novel exercises. Of course, we stick to the basics for the most part, but you throw in a walking lunge with a reverse motion of the walking lunge, and a lot of people have never done that. So it's a nice little trick for the brain. You see them unstable at first, but I feel like those things definitely help in the long run.
For sure. And one of the most important things, which I think that goes back to what we were talking about of what people feel when they become consistent at exercising, is exercise is a stress, right? And it sounds counterintuitive, right? How am I going to combat stress with stress? But what you're doing is you're strategically introducing stress to the body, which in the long run is good because the body takes that stress, recovers and becomes basically more resilient and stronger, and now it can tolerate stress better the next time. So what you're really doing is you're making yourself more resilient, more robust, just by exercising consistently.
It's like an AI learning model. Little by little, it's becoming more powerful.
And imagine if you're introducing your body to that kind of stress and you've become more robust and more resilient, then the everyday stresses of your life are also going to be a little bit easier to handle.
Yeah, and we're not just talking physically carrying a couch or something like that, literal.
No, psychological stress, emotional stress.
Exactly. Is that called eustress? Eustress?
Eustress is the good stress.
Yeah, that's
what
exercise.
Not psychological.
No, what exercise gives.
Yeah, exactly.
The type of stress that exercise induces is eustress.
Eustress.
Was also the name of my Yiddish grandmother, I was going to say.
There's been a lot of interesting research that's come out lately that compares exercise to other modalities that could be used to treat like depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders. And it shows like really interesting things that exercise can be not just as effective, but even more effective than like SSRIs, medication that people take for depression and anxiety, which a lot of them come with, there's always side effects when you take medication.
You know what doesn't have side effects?
Exercise.
Unless
it
you
does
hurt yourself.
have side effects. You're going to feel better about yourself. Improved confidence. Improved body composition.
Yeah. Tell me more.
And by the way, I think this is a good point to note the obvious, which is we're not doctors. We're not here trying to tell you if you're depressed, like you don't need medication. Like we're not those type of, we're not those people. We're not going to tell you don't need. Some people legitimately do need medication.
No, for sure.
We're not the type to tell you that. We're just telling you our expertise, which is the exercise, and now what the science is showing that it can help, and it could be something that you do alongside medication, or it could be something that you do as opposed to medication. It really depends. There's a huge variance here. By the way, side note, something that blows even exercise out of the water, the number one thing that you can do for mood and like antidepressive, no, it's not what you're thinking. It's not that, it's dancing. Dancing.
There's no way.
It's up there. Like I saw the chart and it's like all these things, walking, running, antidepressants,
I've never seen somebody sad
cooking,
dancing.
this and that. And then dancing is like off the charts. But dancing is exercise. But it's even better than exercise because there's music and you're having fun.
That's why Zumba is probably so popular. But I've never seen somebody sad dancing, so I guess that makes sense. So it's like dancing, exercising, jet skis?
Jet skis is probably up there.
Never seen somebody sad on a jet ski. I don't remember who said that, but it's true.
Some comedian.
Hopefully not Dane Cook.
There are other additional benefits that are not tangible, I guess you could say. Like, I guess a little bit getting into the philosophical part of it, but when you exercise, there's like a sense of accomplishment. You're proving to yourself that you can do something hard. I got up in the morning, I did this thing even though I didn't want to, and that makes you feel good about yourself, and there's something to be said about that.
It's the whole swallow your biggest frog first, and a lot of people, their biggest frog is the exercise. It's not easy. If you're doing it properly, it shouldn't be easy. If you're getting up and doing something that's like leisurely, like get up
that
and challenge
and
yourself.
it for sure isn't as easy as just staying in bed. There's nothing as easy as that.
So I'm a bed boy. I love my bed.
So yeah, it's one of those things where if you start your day with some exercise, that for the most part, I think most people could agree that that'll kind of get your day going on a good note. Like you feel like, all right, I got up, I worked out, I feel good, I got my sweat on, I can tackle my day. Like it gives you like this confidence to tackle the rest of your day.
Definitely. And then on the other hand, if you have it lined up and you missed it, it has the complete opposite effect. You're like, well, started my day on the wrong foot. You might be a little more. I know clients here that are insoportable, to use a Cuban word. Their families tell me, like, please make him go to the gym. I can't stand him when he doesn't work out, because it's true. Your mood changes. You're more ornery. You're more likely to be aggressive. Like
the other thing too is once you become the type of person who is fit, who works out consistently, it's very hard to go back to not working out because you feel so much better. Like you just, again, the stress relief part of it, the mental clarity, the sense of accomplishment, even the confidence, the energy. It's like once you become that person, you're almost like a superhuman version of yourself. That is enough motivation to keep you going, because you don't want to go back to that person that like feels like sluggish and tired and weak.
Yeah, it's just so, like, I can't imagine saying no to it, because it gives you so many, besides the, like, you get aesthetic benefits, and that's enough for some people, but then you also feel really good. So it's like, why wouldn't you just
do this, right? It's hard.
Put exercise in here in a ball. It is hard.
And it doesn't have to be that hard. We're going to finish this podcast with like the practical recommendations, and you'd be surprised. Like going for a walk is great for your mental health.
For sure.
So I don't want people who don't work out, because it could be intimidating. It's like, they're telling me I have to do this really hard shit all the time, but you really don't. The idea is just to be physically active often. That's it.
Yeah, and little by little things get easier. That's the beauty of it. It's not going to be that hard forever.
Yeah, and again,
if you do, for you men too.
If you do go into it like I do, which I enjoy the challenge of it, because to me it's very philosophical. It's proving to myself that I can lift this heavy ass shit. When something comes at me in real life, outside of the gym, I feel like I can handle that better as well because I've trained myself that because something is hard doesn't mean I'm not gonna do it. And I feel like that's a really good thing for us to know.
Definitely.
So let's talk about some of our clients and members who have seen huge improvements in their mental health with this.
Which one? Because almost all of them.
All of them, right? So, I mean, one of them that comes to mind who constantly is reminding me that this is therapy. That's the word that he uses. He's an executive. He has a very stressful job. He travels a lot, but he absolutely has to get his workouts in. When he's not training with us, when he's out of town, he's doing virtual workouts. He's doing remote. He finds the hotels with the best gyms and he works out because, again, it's non-negotiable at that point.
Yeah.
He has to combat the stress of his job and his everyday life with exercise. And he says it's absolutely changed his life.
And on a side there, this is a guy who didn't work out until he was in his late 30s, 38,
Early
39.
40s, I think.
Early 40s, and now it's become a habit for him and it's become his form of therapy. And I feel like that's something that's invaluable. Like, that's something that he's never going to stop because he knows the benefits, and God knows where he'd be mentally if he didn't work out right now. And he had all this stress in his life.
It's like we just said, you wouldn't go back to the old version of you.
No.
After realizing how good it feels.
And this is without mentioning the aesthetics, how much better he looks and he feels, and the confidence and all that. This is strictly stress balancing and making himself feel better. Like,
mental clarity, all that good stuff. There's a reason why, like, these Silicon Valley types, these founders and Fortune 500 CEOs, look at the stats. Like 99% of them work out.
See them go from
crazier.
Like, yeah, you see them go from like the little
insane.
tech geek to like, okay, damn, this guy's jacked all of a sudden. Like,
And there's a reason for that. It's because they're in a highly competitive space. They know that if I'm not there 100%, if I'm not giving it my all, if my mental clarity isn't there, if I'm not well rested, if I'm not, if I don't have the endurance, I'm gonna get blown out of the water by some other really smart person who does have those things. So it's for those people, it's non-negotiable. So then, us normies looking at that, it's obvious that you would want to be doing something like that too.
Yeah, I feel like that should be in every, like, all those, like, oh, get rich quick books. Like, working out should be.
It's starting to get there.
Okay, yeah.
It's starting to get. I rarely see these business people that are teaching about business not say like, oh, by the way, like, you should probably be healthy.
Yeah, work out early and get a workout regimen. Yeah.
Because again, it's like running yourself to the ground and grinding and all that toxic, culture. Like, you realize that you can only do that for so long before you work yourself into a heart attack, at 40. And then we have somebody else, Joe, who I've been working with for almost a decade now, who sadly lost his leg when he was 20 years old in a motorcycle accident and started training with us like immediately after. And now he's been working out for almost 10 years. And as an amputee, there's obviously challenges with that. And he credits strength training and what we've been doing as something that's invaluable to him. He doesn't miss. Like, he's one of those guys that just, he's consistent, he pushes himself, and he's struggled with anxiety and things like that. And exercise is one of those things where he views it as an absolute necessity.
He's one of the most impressive people to me because, like you said, it comes with it's not easy. It comes with its challenges. Everything has become harder it's on one leg. It's just what it is. And he doesn't take it like that. He takes it as a challenge and he accepts it and he pushes himself every day, and like that for me is one of the most admirable things that you can do. And like you said, I don't think he would stop. Like, it's just so beneficial to him.
That's what I was gonna say. There's certain people where you just know, like, they're not gonna stop.
That guy's not gonna stop. And physically, he's completely transformed. His I was gonna say his ass looks great, but
he's got a huge ass.
I'm gonna stop there. He has a huge ass.
A huge calf too. The secret to getting big calves is losing a leg.
Yeah, he has one really big. I think one calf is bigger than both of mine, but I digress.
Yep.
Practical tips. Now it's time for
all right, so practical tips. Okay, so finally we've arrived at the practical tips. Still with us?
All
right. You guys are awesome. So first thing we should say is everyone is at a different part of their journey, right? So advice is always hard to give when we don't know if we're giving advice to someone who's been working out for 20 years or someone who's too intimidated to even go for a walk.
Yeah.
So first things first would be know and assess where you're at in your journey before you take any steps.
Yeah, we're recommending that you start slow. If you're one of these people that has the gym intimidation we talked about, you're intimidated to go out for a walk, start with the micro steps. If you have stairs in your house, go up and down the stairs. If you're sitting somewhere like this, literally just stand up. Oh, did I ruin the podcast?
No.
And sit back down and do that 15 times, 3 sets of that. Every little thing you do, just do it consistently, and that's gonna help you improve.
Yeah, I would recommend that you you have a talk with yourself and you say, what am I realistically willing to do, right? One of the techniques is you pick a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being, I can 100% do this for sure, because if you pick something that's like, you're like a 2, where, you take a couch potato and you tell them to do like competitive powerlifting or something like that, what do you think their confidence level is going to be? It's going to be very low. Like, I don't think I can do that. But can you go for a 10-minute walk? Oh, 10 out of 10. I could definitely go for 10 minutes. So pick something that you can for sure do. Here's the key word, and God, we're going to beat them over the head, but consistently, right? I can go for a walk every day or every other day for 20, 25 minutes. So bare minimum, something that you're confident that you can do, because getting that movement in daily is going to be the first step. Forget about optimization, anything like that. And that alone is going to make a big difference in your mental health. Just the going for a walk.
I'd rather you go on 5 walks a week than work out one day
intensely.
every 2 weeks. Yeah, intensely. The consistency and that habit forming is going to be one of the most important things for you.
Yep. The other thing, very important, is do something that you enjoy, in quotations, okay? Because this is a tricky one.
Of salt, yeah, because...
Yeah, like what I mean is you're going to have to exercise, and exercise isn't really pleasant, but maybe I like to run, but I hate like cardio equipment. So, well, then run, There's nothing that you, quote unquote, have to do, but pick something, and it might take a little bit of experimentation, but pick something that you don't absolutely dread and hate, because the chances of you continuing something that you hate is just like slim.
Yeah, and if it's something that you don't really like, but let's say you have a friend that you really enjoy spending time with, do it with them. That automatically makes things a lot more palatable. Only problem is you have to depend on somebody, and then that comes into a whole other range of issues. I'm like a dog. I don't like to run for no reason, but if you throw a ball, I'll run all day. So
or a frisbee.
I'm out there.
Oh, maybe also on that same note, like the environment changes, right? Like, for example, I've never really used a treadmill my entire life, and I've been working out for like 25 years, but I like to be outside. So instead of going for a run or a walk on a treadmill, I much prefer to go to my local park and go for a walk. It makes me feel much better. So environment plays a role, like you said, either doing it with the right people or a friend,
or in the right place.
In the right place. And that's the other thing. When people say gym, it's there's so many different experiences of like what a gym should be, right? So there are some gyms where like I, as a gym owner, would hate being there.
Absolutely.
Like the chaotic environment, the big, huge warehouse gyms where people fighting for equipment. Like, that's my nightmare.
The kids with their broccoli hair and the Crocs.
Yeah, exactly. But a gym like what we started, we did it for a reason, is a lot less intimidating. It's a little bit of a community. It feels like a family here. So pick the right environment. It's gonna help you with your accountability and your consistency for sure.
Yeah, we have some clients that come from super far. They make a drive that you wouldn't believe, and they tell us the same thing. It's like, I just can't find anywhere that I feel like I belong, like I do here. And that's something that honestly we pride ourselves in.
Mm-hmm. So as far as like how much exercise or what type, again, if you're that person that's like just starting, don't worry about that yet. Just worry about doing the bare minimum. But what the research shows is about 150 minutes per week is solid for all these type of effects that we've been talking about, like antidepressive and just like taking care of your mental health. So 150 more or less, and I would split that into cardio or aerobic work and also weight training or whatever other type of like fun stuff you like to do, like playing pickleball or dancing or something like that. And of course, the type of exercise, there's research for both aerobic and weightlifting. We teach weightlifting for a living, and we understand the importance of resistance training. So I would say that everybody needs to resistance train. Everybody also needs to do cardio. So I would do a little bit of both.
What we tell people is try to cover all facets of fitness, and we do strength training here. We try to focus on some mobility too, but cardio is something that we always tell people, like, try to do that on your own, because we're not trying to spend your time here. You're only here for an hour a day. We're not trying to spend it doing like zone 2.
Yeah, and again, if it's intimidating and you're like, oh, now they're telling me I have to do all these things, we're not saying you have to have this perfect weight training program, right? Like doing some push-ups and some air squats will go a long way.
Prison style.
You can do so much with just your own body weight and like a few dumbbells or like no equipment at all. Absolutely. We actually have a whole YouTube playlist of home workouts that you can do with no equipment. They're like 20-25 minutes, right? So there really is no excuse. You could either go for a walk or you could do something like a YouTube workout and knock it out in like 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, we also do online training of all sorts. So I tell people all the time that are interested in online training, tell me what equipment you have or don't have, and we're gonna make it work. Like there's There really is no excuse.
Yeah, people have gotten insanely fit by just going to like the park and using whatever the park has, a park bench or a pull-up bar or whatever it might be.
Your kid, lift your kid.
What's more important is your mindset. You know,
Absolutely.
I'm going to do this regardless. I'm going to not talk myself out of this and just start with the bare minimum and prove to myself that I can do this. And I mean, you'll see if you go from not exercising to exercising, it's night and day as far as like your mental health.
Yeah, and if you've been through this journey, leave us a comment. Let us know how you feel now. And if you know anybody that needs help, you know, be a good friend. Recommend them to start working out. Go with them to the gym. Take them out for a walk. I feel like all these things are things we could be doing for each other that benefit each other more than, like, you know, going out and having a beer or something. You know, let's go for a walk. Let's do something like that. Something.
Yeah, a positive.
Yeah.
And also understand that, like, don't get so stuck in the Western medicine way of doing things. Like, oh, you feel this? There's a pill for that. Like, try these natural methods that are just like inherently good for you. Again, not saying that you don't have to have medication, but that's not the first thing that you should resort to. Like, try this. I guarantee you it'll change your life.
You're definitely gonna feel better.
Yeah.
With that being said, take care of yourselves, be nice to each other, and work out, and you'll feel better in the long run. We're clocking out.
Cheers,
See
mate.
ya.